you talk about tracking on that return of investment for learning and development. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because really at the end of the day, for the owner, they're going to want to know, well, where's my return on investment for all of that? So can you talk about that, the return on investment for learning and development?
Yeah. So basically what you have to do in order to really have the numbers behind this is you have to spend a bit of time being really clear on what the current state is costing you. And that's why you want to know, over the year, how many people are you hiring? How many people are you onboarding? You're assigning costs to these things so that when you start to make a change, you can really track what's changed from there. So the first thing is to really start to quantify what's happening in your business right now. And the basic one is how many people are hiring, how many people are quitting, how many people are you firing? That's interesting too. Is it voluntary turnover or involuntary turnover? Because that might have a different problem, but that's good, important to know. And then you can also start to look at their comps. For instance, one of the interesting things, I always pay attention to hospitals. So if someone's in the healthcare space, if they have over 20% voluntary employee turnover, that's higher than the hospital average, right? The hospital averages are 20%. There's some number it's retail food, like McDonald's or whatever, has some crazy high turnover. It's 65% or something crazy. But so I know it's crazy. But you want to know what your industry is doing, because it gives you a little more incentive to lower it if you're higher than your industry average. You ideally like to be below the average, right? If you're average, okay, listen, I'm just doing the basics of what the average person in my space does. So it's just good to know, do I care to change? Would I like to save this money and do something else with it? Or is it something a cost I'm willing to bear? And so that's something to think about. I think the other thing that's really cool is and it depends on how big the clinics are. So you're kind of alluding, there might be one or two people clinics, and there might be bigger ones. But the way that we like to track is if you're able, the ideal situation is if you're able to separate at least two groups. So one group's getting coaching and one group's not getting coaching, and track over time what's changing in those two groups. And it's almost like a time series, right? So let's say one group gets coaching in January and February, the other doesn't get coaching in January and February, but both of them took the same survey, let's say in December. Then maybe there's another same survey in March. And then you're looking at retention, you're looking at employee turnover, you're looking at, other metrics like errors or client data, and see if that's somehow related. And then you start to figure out metrics that are really specific to your business and how it's impacting them. And you might say, oh, wow, that's awesome. Look, we reduced turnover in the group that got coaching by 1% to 2% in the first quarter. That's awesome. So I have a question, do you think we can add 1% to 2% again the next quarter? Or is that kind of the max we can do for the year? So then you can start to test that. And then you can see, oh, wow, look at that. The group that had lower turnover, they were more efficient. They saved money on marketing, or, I just make up these things, but you might start to see some changes in what's happening between those groups. And that's the real sauce, the secret sauce, is when you're able to see how you can, put the gas more and make those changes do more. Or if it's for some reason it's going in a direction you don't want, what happens if it were proving the baby boomers' perspective that it would make you more valuable and want to leave, then the group getting coaching should have more voluntary turnover than the group that doesn't get coaching. And so you can look at that and test it. And then what's cool is if you feel like the group getting professional development or whatever the thing is, coaching, and it's doing good things for your business, then you can say, you know what, that's worth then rolling it out to everyone, and then starting to just tweak it and make it better for people and have more feedback from what the employees want. I mean, that's, by the way, another secret sauce in this, that it seems so obvious. And I think when you're running a business, you're just trying to do the best you can. But there often is a disconnect between the buyer of professional development and the recipient of professional development. And so we have a process where when someone hires us, we actually send out a survey, a custom survey to the employees they want to have the coaching, because we found that when people opine on what they want and they vote for it and they talk about what's important to them and what will be helpful to them, that can often be different than the person buying it because they just don't live. They don't.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And it's fascinating because you think, well, everyone's heart's in the right place. Like you're, trying to solve for these people, but it's fascinating how they see it differently. And so we've seen this before. And another thing it does is that it means that so the employees then are voting for what they want and telling you what they want. And then you say, okay, here's the data. This is what you guys voted for. Guess what? We're bringing that person in to help you. And then the engagement is so high when you finally have them meeting with somebody because it's exactly what they wanted. And so then everyone's much more engaged and much more interested as opposed to sitting back with their arms, crossed saying, well, I don't want to do this. This is not what I wanted to do. And like you can imagine when you're in a room full of people who didn't choose to be there, they kind of get annoyed, even though you might be bringing them something very valuable.